Good morning, traders. Today is Monday, November 8th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, sorry I'm jumping in here a little bit late this morning, but the long and short of it is we're opening inside the previous day's range, so we expect some chop this morning. And, we have 100% net long overnight inventory, so we also expect a little bit of a pull down. So my guess is we're going to pull down into this range around... this area in here, right around the 89.90 level, where the overnight spent a bunch of time and put in a bunch of volume here. And then, of course, on Friday, we put in a ton of volume and spent some time in there. So I think likely the first move that the market will have is some sort of counter auction to the downside, and then looking for support in there that leads us to getting some chop. Okay. So bam, got it out before the market even opened. Remember, anytime we open inside the previous day's range, it significantly increases the odds. The market just needs to dance around for a bit before it picks a direction. Okay. Overall, how I feel about the market, I mentioned it on Twitter on Friday, and I still feel like it was a fair call that momentum is in charge of this market. It's been in charge of this market for over a month now. And when momentum is in charge, it just continues until it runs out. There are signals that we can use with the market profile to recognize when that momentum is running out. The first step is the value area, which is the blue shaded in boxes. They will start to overlap each other, particularly if one is overlapping to lower. That will really jump out at us that the momentum is coming to an end. But clearly, at the close of Friday, that was not the case in this market. We had value higher. Also, the shape of the profile, we'll start to see more and more P-shaped profiles as the momentum comes to an end, but this is an elongated profile, which is a sign that the momentum is still in the market. And then, of course, we had the liquidation break on Friday, right? Liquidation breaks tend to strengthen a market because they bring in stronger hands buyers. Okay, so just adding all of those narratives together, there's no reason to me that we can't get more momentum to the upside this week. So step one is going to be monitoring, support in Friday's range. We did leave behind a poor low, which is in need of repair. But as I've said, the weakness is less important than the momentum. So if we get some chop here this morning and we find support above yesterday's low, I'm happy to look for continuation higher. Only if we go down there and we repair that poor low, and then we get resistance, so the market pushes below, comes back up and finds resistance around Friday's low, that's when I'd be looking for further downside continuation. And of course, there are a million weak references down there in need of repair, right? We don't need to look far to find more poor lows, weak references, poor lows, multiple gaps. There's all sorts of weakness. So we just monitor for continuation as it works its way down from one, location to the next. But I'm not even worried about that in the least until I see Friday's low break and then find resistance there, because I still believe the momentum traders are in charge of this market. So let's sit back and watch the chop. Please smash that like button if you're just joining. Really helps the stream if people hit it first thing in the morn. Great way to support the pirate. As far as movement to the upside, obviously getting above Friday's high. Something must be funky with my time frames here. Because of the time change. That's what it is. That's so weird. Okay. Anyway, this high, the all-time high, is actually the high from Friday. We had good excess up there. It got switched now because I changed my hours by an hour, So it's calculating it backwards funky. But anyways, this is the high from Friday. So getting above there, coming back down and finding support, we look for continuation higher. Vincent, good morning to you. Welcome. Good to see you. Philip is here. Good morning. Jeremy breaking out from the overnight lull. I don't know. It looks like a pretty good range for the overnight. It was rotational inside yesterday's range, Friday's range, but they got some movement. I'm sure this was pretty boring in here, though. Amir, good morning to you. Welcome. Nicholas, good to see you. Naif back with us. Good morning, sir. Fausto in the house. Good to see you, brother. Scooball is here. J Trader, good morning. Mangala, good to see you. Welcome. John, good morning to you. Mangala says, waiting for a bullish entry. Yeah, I certainly would expect some chop here. We didn't get much of a counter auction to the downside, which can be seen as bullish. But I certainly wouldn't be ready to really jump into a long trade till we got above Friday's high and then found support. Just because anywhere inside Friday's range, which does actually include this as well, we could just rotate right back down, looking for support in here. Arthur, good morning to you. G'day, Jonathan. Good to see you. Ray, good morning from Eastern Oklahoma. David V, good morning to you. Scooball, why does Europe and the U.S. change times? Why does anybody change times? Can anybody really explain why we do this? It's kind of silly. I grew up in Arizona. We don't change times there. Everything's fine. Sky is still blue. The sun still shines. Everything is fine, even though we don't change the time. J Trader and Q looks weaker than the ES. Let's jump over and take a look. Correct. Yeah. So we were talking about, the sign that the trend is aging, right? The sign that the trend is coming to an end. It's running out of steam. The first thing you'll see is value will start to overlap. So this is still overlapping to higher, which means it increases the odds of either sideways or higher from there. But that is a first sign that the trend is coming to an end, that the Q is running out of steam. And then, of course, the overnight. The overnight on the ES traded within Friday's range, whereas the Q explored lower prices. So that's not quite as bullish, but I wouldn't call it bearish either. So I would treat this exactly the same as the ES. You wouldn't get me long until we got above this node and then came back down and found support in here. So that's going to be, support around 16,420-ish. Other than that, they could need to rotate back down into this area here looking for support before they get the strength for continuation higher. So it could be some chop in the Q. Also, poor high and poor low left behind on Friday. It's another sign of uncertainty in the market. A sign that that momentum is coming to an end. Okay, so here comes the chop. Like I said, trading back down into this area here where the overnight spent all this time. We look for support in there, and then we've also got just below it all this time in volume from Friday. So there's lots of areas for the market to find support in here and take another stab at the high. It's not really that great of taper at the high. It's not terrible, but it's just not good. So that increases the odds at some point we need to get back up there and have some more two-sided trade. I mean, Friday left us with a giant range, so I know it's a little hard for newer traders to sit by and just watch the market grind around in here. They see the volatility and they think, I have to participate. But just for what it's worth, maybe getting below this node of volume is a good short very quickly to repair this weak L period low. And then you could monitor for continuation down to the poor low. But again, the overnight bringing in this almost 45-degree angle, putting in all this time, there is support in there. So I wouldn't get bearish until we got below yesterday's low. And I am fine just being patient and waiting until I get a stronger signal. Doug, good morning to you. Welcome. Annis, good morning. Welcome back. Two Manifs in the house. Memphis. Two Memphis in the house. From Central Europe. Ooh. Rocket, you were late on your thumbs up. You're forgiven. We'll let that one slide today. It's a Monday. Arthur, do they do this all over the USA? Yeah. I think Arizona's the only state that doesn't do the time change. Jonathan, more time to play golf in the summer, but is it really? Like, is sunset the thing that's stopping you from playing golf? Ocean Blue, the point was to save electricity. I've never heard that one before. Interesting. I had always heard it was like for the farmers, so they could get that extra hour of sunlight to work on the farm. But I then later heard that was just a BS thing. The farmers would just wake up an hour earlier. Good morning, Alpha Trader. Good to see you. Marco, just sit back and enjoy the show. That's how I feel. Many, many times I tried to learn to master trading the morning chop, but it's just so unpredictable. You can find areas where it might get support and resistance, but other than that, it can switch directions on a dime. White's ready for the collapse? I'm not. I'm not ready for the collapse. I'm prepared if it takes place. Like I said, if we get below the poor low from yesterday, from Friday, and then we get resistance there, and the market can't get back up into Friday's range, I'll go short. And then I know there's a ton of weakness below us, So I'll happily sit in that short and see how far down I can take it if we were to get a bigger pullback. But my assumption is the momentum's been working for them. Why stop now? But there's a lot in need of repair. So the day will come where we pull back down and repair all this. But it just doesn't have to be today. JTrader, pretty bad 9:35 a.m. dip. See, no, we don't see that as a dip. We just see it as part of the morning chop, right? It's price exploration is essentially what it means. You open inside the previous day's range. Half the people think the market's going to go up, half are going to go down. So they start taking bets, but neither is very certain. You know, they're just guessing. That's who's trading here. It's just people guessing. And so if you're guessing and you go long in here, and the market pushes up to here and you don't take profits, as soon as it starts to pull back, you freak out and exit very quickly, and vice versa. So the market just kind of grinds up and down because people are getting in and getting out very quickly because they don't have any confidence in what they're doing. So it's all just very normal psychological behavior. The market's doing what it do. So again, looking for support in this area here. You would think, Jonathan, by now somebody would have invented like a glow-in-the-dark golf ball. That would actually be kind of cool to watch it flying through the sky. 4. Jose, good morning to you. Alpha Trader. Yeah, so the thing about the negative numbers, right? This is something I've now figured out for sure and I have confidence in. So the numbers that you see over here on the right, come on, zoom in. You can do it. There we go. This is showing the delta between the buyers and the sellers, the asks and the bids. So if you're seeing negative numbers, it means there's more sellers at that particular level. But the way that it's tricky is it is really only useful for trading on like a second by second basis, right? So obviously we can see down here at the lows, there's more buyers than sellers, and up here there's more sellers than buyers. But in the middle, the numbers could be positive or negative, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is as the market pushes into a level, so say there's negative 2,000 here now it's 2,500. So if it went to 2,400, 2,300, that's buyers stepping in. So even though there's a negative number in that moment, there's more buyers stepping in, which pushes it back up. So it's really only helpful if like you're at a breaking point in the market and you're trying to figure out, should I enter a trade right now for the market to break out to the upside or downside or whatever, to be kind of watching, is it more buyers and sellers? But it's not really useful if you're just kind of like glancing back at it 10 minutes later. You know what I mean? That you can just use the regular volume to understand how much transactions took place and then just understand, right? If the market pushed up to here, did a bunch of business, and then came back down, obviously it was more sellers than buyers. We don't need to see negative numbers for that. So this is really only going to be useful if you're like a scalper who's just taking quick trades, or you happen to be at a really important influx in the market and you want that little bit of extra insight. But otherwise, it's just kind of noise. So there you go. Now that number that was negative 2,500 is now negative 2,300. And that was enough buyers to push us up again. So it's kind of like you look at the negative 23 and you get the wrong message. At this moment, there are more buyers than sellers there. Oh, they do have glowing golf balls? Well, there you go. Well, then, Jonathan, what do you need the time change for? Just play night golf. Rocket, another one bites the dust. Well done, my friend. 20 minutes in. Correct. Yeah, the delta is the buyers minus the sellers. JTrader, ES had a good uptrend from 8 a.m. to the open. Yeah, but once the New York hours open, it's a whole new ball game. There's suddenly a massive influx of volume that comes in. Okay, well, we've given the internals some time to kind of absorb that, long overnight inventory. So now we can kind of observe the ticks. How do they handle the zero line? Do they stay above it? Or do they start to trend below that zero line? That'll give us some insights as to whether the buyers or sellers are going to win here this morning. All right, looks like the NQ is exploring some lower prices here, looking for support. Same as the ES. I get bearish if they get below that poor low and then come back up and find resistance. But there is still a lot of time that was spent in the overnight in here, so this may be enough to hold up the market. It's also worth noting value for today inside yesterday's value area. So if it works its way lower throughout the day and we have, overlapping to lower value, again, that's the signal that the momentum to the upside has come to an end. And we can look for a larger pullback in the days to come. But it's too early to say right now. Is it Tesla dragging down the NQ? I don't know. What's up with Tesla? Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, Tesla had a little gap down. And a lot of volume this morning coming in from buyers buying up that gap. Looks like Bitcoin's pumping again. 65. Yeah, looks like it made new all-time highs. Or almost. Not quite. Yeah, I'd say if Bitcoin can stay above 61 now, 61.7, it's setting itself up for another push. Maybe up into the 70s, 75, something like that. $73. It's very doable. Bitcoin. All right. Well, the ES is on its way down, looking for support in this node of volume here from the overnight and from yesterday or from Friday's range. Again, if we can't see that, the first target to the downside is repairing the weak L period low. And then if we can't find support in this node from the overnight here, this 45-degree angle at about 46.80, repairing the poor low left behind from yesterday, from Friday. But lots and lots of support between here and there. Ooh, internals trending down here. Advancers versus decliners and the ticks both trending down. Ticks below the zero line. So the sellers are piling on. James, any thoughts on Dalton's tweet? Yeah, I was making fun of it this morning. It cracks me up. It's like, that's like the type of tweet you'd expect from MSNBC, a tweet that says nothing. Let me pull it up. So obviously it's just he's trying to promote the sale of his new thing. But he's basically saying that the excess that we got up here could be good excess, right? There's a two-way auction process. When you push high enough that you run out of buyers, you get excess at the upside. The market is then ready to pull back down and start to repair the weakness that it left below. You know what I mean? So he's just basically saying he doesn't know if this is good excess or not because the markets are acting so funky lately, basically meaning momentum has been so powerful. But that if we start to pull back down, to look to each of the old poor lows and weak references and things like that and monitor for continuation lower, because if this was a good all-time high and we made good excess, that's when, like, I sent out a tweet saying when the music stops, right? Thinking about musical chairs. When the music stops, the market needs to pull back. It desperately needs it. So if this was what it needed to make the music stop, then look for a really big pullback to repair all that. But as I said this morning, I just don't see it that way. I'm looking at Friday's range as being bullish. It's an elongated profile. Value is higher. We got a liquidation break. All of those things are bullish. So to convince me that the momentum is done, I need to see us get below Friday's low and then find resistance. Be unable to get back into that range. Then I'll be like, yes, sir, that was good excess. Let's look for a pullback. But until then, I am not fighting this momentum. These short-term buyers have been buying them stonks. Okay, speaking of momentum, it's starting to break to the downside. We're almost about to start one time framing lower. We've also now pulled here on the ES, the value area, to overlapping to higher, whereas this morning it opened higher. So overlapping to higher increases the odds of either sideways or higher. Ticks still look like they want to trend lower. It's chop, baby. Chop, chop. RK, why does he say 2-tick increments when it's 2.5? I'm not sure what you mean. Are you talking about the measurement of the TPO? I might be wrong, but if you set it for 2 ticks, it's exactly 2 ticks for each TPO. Remember, they don't show you every number over here on the side. They're not showing you each letter. There's black boxes between. So like I've got them in 1-tick increments. So if you zoom way in, you get to see each tick. But if you zoom out, it looks like, it could be larger increments, but it's not. Double eagle. Can I go back to my internal screen? Yeah, screenshot it up, bro. You got the breath over here on the left. You got these little breath bubbles, which come from Shadow Trader. You can find those at shadowtrader.com or .net. Also on this one, I've got another thing that's called tick values, and that's another one that's free on Shadow Trader. And that just puts that little red line and green line so you can see easily when it's above or below 1,000, which is like the overbought, oversold area. And then on the SPX and the NDX, that is just a simple 20 moving average. Okay, ticks are trending down. Internals are trending down. Market is one time framing lower. But the market could find support anywhere in here. So it's hard to pick an exact level where it'll reverse. Oh, I see what you mean, RK. Yeah, that's just because of how zoomed out he is. If he'd zoomed right in much closer, you'd see that they're just 2 ticks. Okay, it looks like the NQ is starting to get some resistance at that 20 moving average. If it's able to push back up through to the upside, that's a sign of potential rotation when it pushes up and down through there. All right, so the market pushed down to its first potential support here in that node of volume from the overnight. So now we're watching, do we get resistance as we push back up into this node that was support earlier today? Or do we come back down and grind through this? Henry, do I have a template for Thinkorswim in the Discord? I do not, and I can't share these because they belong they belong to Shadow Trader. So you got to go to their website to get them. So I can't share those, but you could just go to shadowtrader.net. and then go to shop at the bottom. And then, yeah, so the breath bubbles are right here. You can see they don't cost anything. And then the tick values and distribution. This is the other one I use. So you can see it's free. It's as free as a bird, man. I've never used Quant Tower, so I can't give you any kind of review of that, unfortunately. But I leave that open to the chat. Anybody use Quant Tower? What do you guys think? Okay, so we're still just getting chop. The next test is, does this node right here become resistance? Is the B period unable to get back above there? In which case we will likely have to trade back down into this node over here, looking for support, and just keep bouncing between them until we break out one way or the other. That's why they call it chop. Okay, so earlier this morning I was saying I needed to see us get above the high from Friday to get bullish, to get into a long trade. But I think I'd be happy to if we break through this resistance here, just below the opening price. If we push through it and come back down and we find some good support in here, and I see that the reversal on the ticks is very obvious, right? We are now trending higher, not trending lower. Sometimes you have to ignore the wicks a little bit. So when it's really certain that we're trending higher, I'd go long in here. As they barely pushed down into that overnight range and instantly found support. It's not perfect taper at the low, but it's okay. It's good taper, good enough. But if they fail to break through this resistance, they got to head back down and test the support again. And the chop continues. Jeremy, I only trade holidays if the market's completely ignoring them. If the market's only open like partially, I don't trade that. It's just too hard to read. It's unpredictable with low volume. And quite frankly, I enjoy getting a day off from time to time. So I'm happy to have a holiday come on in and give me a day to chillax. Okay, well, we're breaking through this resistance. We're at the very top note of it here. But we are still bringing in more buyers. got the ticks back above the 0 line, and we broke through that 20 moving average that was acting as resistance on the NQ. So far it feels like rotation, but there's potential it could start to move higher here. Let's jump over and take a look at the NQ. Okay, they created a little poor low on the Q here. So that the odds favor at some point they'll come back and repair that. Also continuing the trend of pushing higher on weakness. Poor low from yesterday as well. Smells like rotation. Ozzy just arrived. Welcome, brother. Smash that like button. Give it a push. Ocean blue. Okay, Charles, you've had an hour. Where's the market going to go? I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I know it's not a fun thing to hear right now. It's not. It hasn't made up its mind, but it feels like it might just go sideways. I would have thought getting above this node here would have brought in a little bit of a squeeze of the people going short in here, and we would have got a little pop above. Then we could have got the insight on does it become support, but instead it just went straight from support back into resistance, and now it's grinding back down again. So it's just rotating. If we print the C period here in 5 minutes and that gets a few ticks above the B period high, that will be a sign that the market is likely to go sideways. But they are not making it easy. All right, Doug. Enjoy the rest of your day. Mangala, I'm going to quit day trading and go for swing trades from now on. Less stress. I think that's very wise. There's also, I would just say, there are other ways to manage your stress as well. Do I sound stressed this morning? I'm not stressed at all, right? I woke up and I knew what I was looking at. The market was inside the previous day's range. We needed a counter auction to the downside. So I just knew there's no trades for me. No reason to get stressed looking for a trade. Just wait until the opportunity presents itself. All right, guys. Well, as we get to the C period, like I said, the contradiction between what price is doing in the internals, the way that we're passing up and down through that 20 moving average on the NASDAQ, the way value is now overlapping to higher, whereas it opened the day higher. It's all kind of making me feel like the market might need to go sideways. But I'd keep a close eye on Friday's high, which is the all-time high. They get above that, find support. They're looking for continuation higher. And Friday's low, they get below that, find resistance, looking for continuation lower. But it feels like we might just have a rotational day here as of now. The clear signal will be if the C period instantly goes up and trades a few ticks above the B period high. That is what we call the cessation of one-time framing. Cyrus, does the Brigade session take place on Discord or still through YouTube? It's through YouTube. You basically just get a link to a YouTube video that only members of the Brigade can watch, but it's exactly the same as what you're watching right now. And then there's also a side conversation that happens in the Discord for people that want to share random ideas. If you're not a member of the Brigade, it only costs $10 a month. There's a link in the description, and you get to hang out for the rest of the day. So give it some consideration. Other than that, not much to report here. Like I said, feels like it's going to be rotational, and if it's going to go lower, the first step will be getting below Friday's low. With that, I will bid you all farewell and wish you the best of luck and happy trading this morning. And I will look forward to seeing you all here tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day.